Delta Force Hawk Ops is a game that's been taking the FPS and extraction shooter scene by storm. It recently entered its alpha playtest phase, and the general reaction to it has been amazing. But there's still a ton of concerns about things like controller support, pay-to-win monetization, unrealistic cosmetics, and more. Fortunately, the developers from Team Jade and publisher TiMi Studios just gave us a 2-hour-long Q&A that I've broken down into a short video to quickly cover for all of you. So let's get into it.
Right, so right now we have our servers deployed in the western coast of the States, in Europe, and in Singapore. We are aiming to deploy more servers in future playtests, and we'll have servers everywhere when we formally launch the game, so you'll have a smooth connection experience with our game.
Okay, that's really important. We need servers everywhere so that everybody has good ping when playing something like an FPS.
We will stay very true to how the game looks right now as part of its visual identity.
Games like Call of Duty are infamous for adding super unrealistic skins, which can take away from the immersive experience when playing something like a military shooter.
So we will stay very clear away from pay to win, and we try to build Delta Force the game as fair as possible. And we will never sell items that will boost your stats in the game. So expect stuff like cosmetic items in the future. And that's for the multiplayer part. For the single player part, it will be premium content with no microtransactions at all.
So that is really awesome to hear that there's no pay to win, because to my knowledge, essentially every extraction shooter that has come out, whether that's Tarkov, DMZ, Hunt Showdown, Cycle Frontier, Arena Breakout, has had some level of a pay to win mechanic in the game. So to my knowledge, if this one comes out with absolutely no pay to win mechanics, it might be the first extraction shooter to do it, and that's going to make a lot of people happy.
So it's actually a very integral part to balance both weapons and ammos, and that's why we're doing this alpha test and future test. That's why we need to hear your feedback from our community. Once again, thank you very much for feedback. That we will keep hearing from you and see how we can tweak our weapons and ammos to make sure that your gameplay experience is balanced and fun. So keep your feedback coming, and we are ready.
So it's good that they're paying attention to things like the balance of weapons, armor, and bullets, because that's going to be really critical in everyone's experience through a game like this. Let me know in the comments down below how you guys currently feel about it.
So the reason why we put operators in our game is because we want to give players more strategical gameplay freedom and a choice of gameplay freedom. And operators can fulfill different gameplay styles. And they are not there to be, cosmetic items, but if some operators are really popular, we might add cosmetic items to them. And we will stay very true to how the game looks like right now. As much as we love Nicki Minaj, you won't see Nicki Minaj in Delta Force.
The operators definitely add a ton of unique playstyles to the game that I actually think benefits it.
Okay. So for chat, we will not be adding it to hazard operations at this moment because it might expose your position to nearby enemies, and we don't want you to do that. For Havoc Warfare, it will be implemented sometime in the future.
Now this one's tricky because most extraction shooters do have proximity chat, and it seems to be something that a lot of players like. But on the other hand, like they've said themselves, it does unfortunately give an advantage to other teams when they can hear other players in proximity. Unfortunately, this is mostly caused by console players and controller players as a whole because they tend to lack the ability to push to mute or push to talk.
This is something we need to do more thinking, and we might want to make our user interface, user experience more immersive in the future. So keep your feedback coming.
So if you played the alpha, you'll notice that in the main screen, there's like a global chat, which can get pretty toxic. So hopefully they give us a way to kind of mute that in the future.
So for Havoc Warfare, it will be implemented in the future.
This is amazing because if you've played the multiplayer mode, you know that once you're in the game, you can't customize your weapons at all, which I found to be very odd and uncomfortable. So I'm glad they're going to be adding that to the game.
First and foremost, we hate haters because they really spoil the fun. And we are aiming to move more and more of our games processing to the server end instead of local end. So it will be easier for us to recognize cheating behavior, and which will result in a much faster and more accurate response. We will also be detecting hardware cheating behaviors as well. So we are trying to really block cheating from every possible aspect into our game. And our team is deployed globally, and we will be keeping a close eye monitoring all sorts of cheating behaviors. And also, community feedback has been very important. So if you think someone's cheating, do let us know.
This is a difficult topic that the only thing I think we can do is wait till the game comes out and see how they deal with cheaters. It's something that's been infesting the FPS genre, and they got to do something about it, otherwise it will ruin their game.
So Shadow also wants Jet himself, so definitely we are making the Jets right now. Expect Jets in the future update.
That's a plus for everybody that wants jets in the game.
For Havoc Warfare, because we are still running the game at its alpha test stage, and we are still growing our player base. So to refrain from you waiting forever in the queue. We are adding a little bit of both to our games, and we're aiming to eliminate or reduce their presence in future games because more and more we will be playing the game because we're seeing out more and more codes. So yeah.
Sort of thought this was to be expected. As many of you have probably seen, both in multiplayer and Havoc Warfare, they have been AI/bot players. And a lot of people have been annoyed by that. But I think that it being in an alpha test and them saying themselves that they want to keep the queue times short makes sense that they be doing that. And once the game launches, you know, they should be reducing the bots or eliminating it, as they said.
It's a great feature and a great request, and we are planning to implement it first with Havoc Warfare for future updates.
This is awesome. It means we're going to be getting private games for Havoc Warfare, but I find it interesting that he said Havoc Warfare first, meaning maybe we'll get private matches for the extraction shooter mode, which to my knowledge would be the first custom games you could ever do in an extraction. Could be cool.
Okay, so it's going to be a part of Hazard operations. I'm not sure if you are really exploring the interface a little bit, but you probably noticed there are a lot of unavailable maps and buttons. And one of them is what we call Manticore mode, in which you will be able to team up with your friends and you will enter maps with your loadouts, and you get to challenge different setups and configurations of enemies, much more enemies and more challenging enemies than what you would be facing when you are being threatened by other real players. And this will be a little bit of teasing from us regarding what's to come.
There definitely are players looking for a PvE only mode within the extraction shooter genre, so I hope they can accomplish that here.
So it will be primarily Battle Pass, premium Battle Pass for the future, and also we will be providing cosmetic items and bundles as such in our game.
I think this is good. A lot of the biggest games right now, like Fortnite, Apex, Warzone, Valorant, League of Legends, all use this exact same monetization system. They have no pay-to-win features, and it works out great.
Okay, so for now our goal is to end the alpha test sometime around the first week of September, and we will be sending more invites to more players to experience our game.
Awesome, so we finally have an end date in September.
We will be supporting console input in a future update, which might be sooner than you think. And we will allow players to further customize their key binding in our game.
Everybody's been asking about controller and they finally answered it. I love that. The most interesting thing I find is that they did say that it seems like it's coming sooner than we expect. So maybe if we're lucky, we'll even see it during the alpha test.
Yeah, aim assist will be in the game for sure.
Another win for controller, but hopefully it's balanced. The reality is that without aim assist, controllers would never be able to compete with mouse and keyboard in crossplay lobbies. So let me know what you guys think of that down below.
There are 4 pillars to our campaign. The first is reviving classics. We want to recreate the plot from the Black Hawk Down movie, and we also want to recreate some of the most iconic classic missions from the Black Hawk Down game as well. And the second part is we want to provide this as an experience that you can play solo or together with your friends. And thirdly, we want this campaign to be more believable, more real. So this is not a mode that you can just dive in and you can just go there guns blazing and you can just breathe to restore your house. No, this is going to be super hardcore and difficult and a little bit punishing. And lastly, we want to build this as a visual masterpiece. Thanks to our good relationship with Epic Games, we are building this campaign mode with Unreal Engine 5 to deliver a game that looks good and also runs well on your PC and console.
The campaign sounds great, and the fact that they're going to have co-op makes me extremely interested in playing.
So obviously, we'll be adding more maps and more modes to Havoc Warfare. And for future maps, each of them will emphasize on different gameplay aspects. Like some maps might be emphasizing more on close-quarter combat. Some might even encourage or emphasize more on trench warfare. That's one thing. Another is we want to make this mode more immersive and believable by gaming up our environmental destruction and sound design that you can really hear the bullets flying around you. And lastly, we want to really make sure that this still feels like a Delta Force game, but stay true to the franchise legacy and identity.
I really liked that they mentioned environmental destruction and sound design. Those are things that are really going to help us feel immersed within the game, so I'm glad that they're focusing on that and working to improve it.
They might come to our game as a timed event.
This one might let a lot of people down, as I know that a lot of people wish for a solo-only mode within the extraction shooter genre. Unfortunately, it looks like that might only be a limited time event, but who knows, maybe they're welcome to change in the future.
This is something we will be monitoring closely based on player feedback and data by tweaking how weapons, ammos, and gear work in our game. So keep playing and keep sending feedback to us so we know how to build a game that is both fun and strategical challenge and rewarding for players.
This is a hot topic that I want everyone that has played the current alpha or even watched it to let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. The time to kill. Personally, in my experience, the time to kill has been good so far, regardless of armor and ammo. I think that there's a lot of potential, and I think there's a lot more to be explored and broken down for players to truly understand how the time to kill works. But let me know your guys' thoughts.
So this is actually super exciting that Blacksite in the future will change its look based on how you build and upgraded different facilities. And some of your loot might also be on display at your own that really represents your own identity and your style. And obviously expect more facilities and more upgrades in the future. And we will be obviously adding the shooting range and more functions to it so you can have more fun even in your Blacksite.
I think base building and progression outside of the match within extraction shooters is one of the best things they can add. So the fact that they're going to be expanding on this makes me really, really hopeful for the future of this game.
Depending how serious this request is, and if you want maybe a Crosshair giving us from Australia, we will keep that in mind. And if we ever put in our game, it will be sent straight to your Blacksite template. Promise.
That sounds like something they're not really thinking about, but if a lot of people request it, then maybe they'll just add it.
So if you're not following our game closely, you can actually produce and manufacture bullets and medic in your own Blacksite, which is super convenient with your hazard operation exploration. And obviously, we will be cutting these times shorter in the future and based on your feedback. So make sure that you keep sharing your feedback with us so we know what to do with Blacksite. And we will also allow players to manufacture even more items in the future at their own Blacksite, so they can get really comfortable with their Blacksite.
This is a big one. I had friends point out to me immediately that crafting times were extremely long inside the game. I took a look myself and found such. And so the fact that they're going to be willing to adjust that is great.
So this is actually something we rarely hear from our community. So we will check internally, see if this is the case. It's blocking gaming experience. And obviously, if you or Shroud has something to say about this, do send them over and we will take a look.
So I don't think this is something that's most talked about, and it seems like they might not even be aware of it. But essentially what's happening is your aim, where your crosshair sits, is somewhere really high up on your operator, which means that you can essentially like peek over like a bag of sand, and only your eyes might be sticking past the bag of sand, but you're able to shoot people. Even though your gun's like down below the bag of sand, you're able to hit players. So that's definitely something they need to lower so that, you know, the upper half of your body is sticking out, so it makes more sense, and so it's not as overpowered in peak to peak battles.
So a shorter version would be everything you see in the game will get bigger and better and more diverse, but to put into a more detailed context, expect new operators and new maps and new gameplay content and modes called hazard operations and havoc warfare. And last time we mentioned that we're already working on the idea of the 4th season because we are really aiming to support Delta Force in the years to come. And we're happy to share that we have basically almost finished up our production with the 3rd season, and we're already working on the idea for the 5th season. We even have some playable demos with them already. So yeah, we have big plans, and we have big plans for the future after the release.
So it sounds like they have a ton of plans for the future of Delta Force for years to come. So they're really invested in this game, which makes me really happy and really excited. Let me know if you guys are excited, and if this helped you guys out and you guys enjoy this type of content, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future videos. Peace.